Welcome to the 10X Blueprint Podcast, your guide to unlocking 10X growth through AI, AR, and Web3. Join Simone Knight, billion-dollar media strategist and founder of Brandiverse Marketing, for discussions with industry leaders about harnessing the power of tomorrow's technologies today. Let's step into the Brandiverse. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the newest episode of the 10X Blueprint Podcast. Today, we have a doozy on our show. Today, we have Mr. Charles Neal. Charles, how are you doing?
Simone Knight, how's it going? All's well, I mean.
It's going great. It's going great. I'm so thrilled to have you on the show today. I've been looking forward to the discussion. There's so many cool things I want to talk with you about. But let me let everyone know who we have on today's show. So we have Mr. Charles Neal. He is president of the board of directors for the National Association of Multi-Ethnicity in Communications, otherwise known as NAMIC. So he is the president of the Atlanta region. He leverages his role to positively impact corporate communities, aligning his professional endeavors with his personal mission and purpose. Charles is all over the place. He is an amazing humanitarian and works so well with so many organizations. He won't say this, but he was recently named as Man of the Year by the STEM Atlanta Women Organization. So congratulations on that, naming Charles.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. So in addition to his role as the president for the Atlanta chapter of NAMIC, he's currently serving as the assistant vice president at Genpact's media and telecom division. He's dedicated to spearheading the implementation of new technologies all over the world. So his work involves expanding portfolio of services for top-tier cable and communications companies globally, with a focus on enhancing operations through his expertise in communication, in media, data analytics, and digital transformation. And if all of that was not enough, let me just add one more thing that just makes Charles near and dear to my heart. He is a certified project management professional.
You scared me for a second.
Come on now. You know I have to mention this, of course, because you are certified PMP, or certified pimp, as I like to call it, and a Scrum Master. He also holds an electrical engineering degree from Oregon State University. He's the father and husband of two beautiful daughters. And so, Charles, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me, Simone. I appreciate it. And congratulations. The podcast is going smoothly. I see.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. This is something near and dear to my heart because we would normally have these sorts of conversations around dinner or drinks or at an event. And I thought, why not bring these conversations to a larger audience and let them see a window into what people like us who are working with global corporations, seeing what's happening at the forefront, seeing where actually global corporations are not moving fast enough and really understand what's coming. So today, the conversation is about the work that you do have with these global corporations in telecom and cable, and what you're seeing in terms of AI and how they're implementing AI. What are the biggest opportunities you see in AI today? So that is what we're talking about in this discussion.
Listen, let's get at it.
Let's get at it. Okay. So before we get at it, I want to just lay a little groundwork. Right now, I'm doing a blog series on iconic brands. And these are brands that really have helped to define our pop culture and really leverage our pop culture. And it's a question as to who's coming first, right? The chicken or the egg? Are they defining pop culture? Is pop culture really sort of helping define these brands? But I'm talking about brands that have been around 50, 60, 100 years, Coca-Cola, Nike, brands like that, the Rolling Stones. And I'd love to understand from your perspective, what's your favorite iconic brand?
So you know me, the rebel in me says, let me change it a little from favorite to intriguing. Oh, can I call them an icon? Not yet. Wait, you have to sort of look at it through a different paradigm, right? Twitter.
What?
When
do you mean at Twitter? Do you mean at?
You know, they look, Elon Musk can say X, but when you go in and you're sitting now looking at any major media outlet, they're like Twitter X, but it's always Twitter in my heart. When somebody says in my heart, it's right. I mean, and I'm not going to go too far on the rail on this. I don't even have a Twitter account. Let's be clear. And I'm saying, because I would get addicted. Could you imagine me on Twitter? And, right? I get a lot of people who send me this stuff, right? But seriously, I remember, and it wasn't too long ago, and I don't remember names, so forgive me, but there was a leader of a country who was out having a press briefing, and then something happened and they felt like they didn't get their due. And this wasn't Donald Trump, right? And that leader ran to Twitter to put a tweet out saying, hey, this is what I really meant. Imagine you run a country and you said, I don't think my voice was heard well enough. And the first place you go is to your followers on Twitter. That told me everything that I had to know. That's a platform that's used globally by leaders, by presidents of countries, by every blasted organization under the sun. And that even I said, hey, to a couple of people in my organization, hey, we need to think about getting on the Twitter account. I don't follow that. It's so polarizing that you can't even get a decision on whether you should or you shouldn't, but you do read the tweets and you do forward the things out that says, this is what the conversation is. And these are the people who are having it. And this is the platform that they're using. So no, I'm not endorsing it per se, but I am saying that it is a relevant platform for pop culture in this day and age. If you go and look at the top Twitter influencers and you look at the name, that is all of pop. It is all of leadership in the world globally. And so I think it has a place in our society for the foreseeable future.
Well, that is interesting. And I don't disagree. Whether you love Twitter or hate it, it definitely has solidified its place in our culture. And it has given voice to the people, quote unquote, and whether that is good or bad. Because I think one of the reservations I have about Twitter is that it's almost like the wild, wild west of social media, in my opinion, because you have a lot of people that are hiding behind the internet. Now, granted, I'm not going to single out Twitter because there's a lot of platforms that have that, right? But at the same time, I think because Twitter has become a place of discourse, this is where you're having a conversation generally about news, right? So when you take up the personalities of the most popular social media platform, I would say that it's this. Facebook is about, look at this thing that is happening, right? Look at this thing that I'm doing. Instagram is about, look at me over here doing this thing. And Twitter is about, let's talk about this. Look at them. So it's become this place where you're having a lot of back and forth conversation and you having random people sort of chime in. It's almost as if you're sitting at a restaurant having lunch, Charles, and random people walk by and chime into your conversation. Hurling insults.
Right now, we're in NBA playoffs. You can't go to a timeout, a commercial break, without seeing the list of tweets coming up on the side from players and fans, etc., on what just happened 2 minutes ago, 2 seconds ago.
Absolutely.
It is part of the fabric. Will it be here 5-10 years from now? Who knows? Maybe it'll evolve into something different, a different form. And then when he puts the payment rails on this thing, oh, come on now. Now you're talking about you can send money back and forth along with having a conversation. We don't even understand yet. Chess and checkers.
Since I'm talking about iconic brands, I got to get on my soapbox about the fact that he rebranded Twitter with the letter X, his favorite letter. I'm just like, you basically threw away one of the most iconic logos.
Do you think that it'll come back? I think there's a reemergence of it at a certain point in time. Who knows what?
I don't know if it's from him. I don't think it's from him. He's obsessed with this letter X and he has all the rights to be that way and name his company whatever he wants. But from a brand perspective, I think the rebrand was a mistake.
Okay. Do you get an X or do you get a tweet?
You get a tweet. That's exactly right. Right? This is one of those rare moments where the brand actually aligns with what you're actually doing, right?
That's one of those rare moments when the brand supersedes what the management is trying to do with it.
Yeah. That's how the brand is saying, I'm not dying. But you know what? Okay, I'm going to give it to you. That means that it is an iconic brand, right? That means that it is an iconic brand. It did not pass the 50-year-old threshold. However, the brand itself has taken over and has become a part of our culture. It has superseded what was originally planned by even the people who created it. And it's now taken on a status of its own. So let me share with you the 7 characteristics that I see that iconic brands have utilized to become this fabric of our lives, really, right? So number 1, authenticity. They are authentic and they stay true to their core values, their belief, and they resonate with our emotions, right? As people. That's 1. Number 2, cultural relevance. They evolve with the times, always staying part of our heritage and maintaining what's happening in terms of shifting trends. Number 3, community building. They build a strong community, strong, vibrant community where people are really wanting a sense of belonging and camaraderie. And that's all part of what they're doing. So far, I would say that Twitter is going 3 for 3 so far by listening.
You got Black Twitter, Black crypto Twitter. I didn't even realize you had subcategories from Twitter.
Right. I didn't, you're exactly right. There's the Black Twitter, the crypto Twitter. I'm sure there's every sort of culture. There's a subgenre of Twitter. Okay. Number 4 on my list, emotional connection. They evoke strong emotions and memories. Yeah. There's a lot of emotional connection and strong emotions when it comes to talking about Twitter. Listen to our conversation right now. Number 5, consistent branding. Okay. So Twitter almost had it. You have, I'm trying to change the brand here, but like you said, maybe people will resist it and the bird will come back. Number 6, innovation and adaptability. Yep. They're adapting. We just talked about all these little subgenres and we talked about adding payment systems and all that. And the last thing is engagement and interaction, right? They actively engage their audience and two-way communication and dialogue. And as you mentioned, Twitter is a big part of what's happening with the basketball teams and just sports in general. People always take to Twitter and talk about their opinions on things. So perhaps you're right. I was thinking in my definition of iconic brand, you had to be around for at least 50 years. But I would venture to say, Charles, that you are right, that Twitter is becoming an iconic brand. And it does meet all of the 7 characteristics that I've laid out. So yes, you nailed that. All right. So let's get into today's conversation about what we see coming in AI. The world shifted in November, December of 2022 when ChatGPT was announced. And basically Q1 in 2023, when a lot of people really started latching onto it, it grew its audience faster than anything else in the world. Whereas like Facebook took like 2 months to reach something like that. So the growth is fantastic with ChatGPT. Obviously that has been evolving. And then you have these other AI platforms that are coming out every day. There's something new to do generative AI with text to text or text to image. Now you have all of these video generators that are coming out. I mean, there's a lot of deep fakes. I mean, there's a lot of pitfalls and watch outs and guardrails that are still necessary for us to catch up. But when you're out there implementing technology strategies with these global corporations, what are you seeing that's coming in terms of AI and how they are using it?
This is still all about the customer experience. When you start having a conversation with leaders about what are their biggest challenges and their goals, it's really about revenue acceleration, revenue recognition, churn reduction, and all that is based on how you treat the customer. So the more information you have on the customer by itself is just information, right? You can run some analytics on it to say, oh, okay, this percent does this percent does that. But when you're trying to go into a greenfield environment area where there's nothing at, and you have data points that says, hey, demographically speaking, this person makes this amount of money, and you have their spending trends, etc. When you lunge all of that together and put it through an engine, sometimes you get an outcome that's not mature yet, but over time it does mature, that says, if you go to this customer with this product mix and with these price points, your percent chance of gaining them as a customer is a lot higher. Same scenario is if you have a customer that was considering leaving, they've called a few times, their billing has had problems or they've had mechanical issues, etc. All of that is data that comes in that, once again, you put it through different engines. And I'm not talking about just analytics and machine learning, but just predictive and AI. And you have an opportunity to then put an output that says, I think this customer is preparing to leave. They have all of the hallmarks of a person who's just aggravated and agitated and says, I want out. Make these adjustments, right? Or customer that calls in, right? Now you can put a chat bot in front of everybody knows what a chat bot is right now, but you can, within those chat bots, see if customers calling in and they're upset, they're angry, give them a red symbol. And now you're giving them suggestions over time that gets them from red to a intermediate color to a green color, right? So let's just say red, yellow, green, right? So they go from red to yellow to green. That yellow is like, okay, they're not as upset as they were, but now in that green state, they're much more amenable to whatever it is. They're no longer on their soapbox like, I hate you, I'm leaving, etc. Now they're like, okay, you know what? I appreciate what you told me. And hopefully That's a human on the other end that they're talking about. Just from a job perspective, right? But from an efficiency standpoint, they may have made it a chatbot that said, hey, we're able to do these things with an automated persona that brings them through a flow. Then when you're looking at equipment, all of these manufacturing organizations or even telecom, et cetera, you have all these switches, routers, et cetera. These things have to be maintained. They don't just stay up and running forever without any friction, right? No, but to get to a frictionless environment, if you have data that's coming out that says, hey, I've been running for like 5 years straight and never had a break. Break one happens, break two happens. It could be systematic, a problem that's going to occur. Now you have all of this historical records that say, hey, when we start to see these things happening in sequence, something can happen 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the line. Let's get ahead of that. All of these things are saving you money as a corporation that says, if we can do preventive maintenance or predictive maintenance up front, we won't have as many breakages, which will get to downtime, which then goes back to a customer that says, why is XYZ not working? Thus the churn goes up. Getting all of these things in place, you can use AI that gets you along the way, right? Fraud, even in HR, right? You have tens of thousands on these multinational of employees. Once again, all of this data comes in. How often are they in? How often are they sick? And talk about employees. Who's my rock stars? What learnings have people had? And you bring all of this information together and it gives you the ability to give your HR professionals insight that they probably wouldn't have had if they were just looking at the data one-on-one. You would probably have to be a 30, 40-year professional to be able to say, oh, yes, this is what's going to happen. But when you're bringing in 1, 3, 5, 10-year professionals, 10 maybe on the higher side, and you're able to provide them this single pane of glass of information that then says, hey, this is the way we could look at our organization, or down to the individual, whether it's an employee or a customer, product set, et cetera. AI enables all of these levels of insights, level of predictability, level of best next action that allows for a company to save money and or accelerate their revenue.
So having said that, I mean, obviously there's a lot of exciting opportunities when it comes to AI, but there's a lot of scary things too. Recently, you have OpenAI released Sora, right? The video generator. And people are super excited about it, but also very wary because it looks very real and it is completely fake. Now, from a marketing perspective, I look at that and I see, oh, wow, there's an opportunity for some amazing efficiencies and some amazing creativity with that. But then the flip side of that is there's a big opportunity for fraud, for misuse, for misrepresentation. How do you see basically organizations looking at this from a governance and guidelines perspective within their operations, protecting their brand? What are you seeing out there for that?
This is going to be a hard fight. You have two sides of a coin, right? You're always going to have, let's call it the bad actor side. And then you're going to have the individuals who are trying to run their organization, let's say, in a moral and just way, right? Hopefully they don't blend too much. But in that environment, you're going to have AI be able to identify when there's fraudulent information or fraudulent activity that's occurring. And what's going to happen is models are going to evolve. The model that says I'm going to do fraud detection have to evolve faster than the models of the individuals who are trying to commit the fraud. And it's not going to always be in balance. You're going to have one leading the other, right? When computers came out, you had to have Symantec and others that said, hey, let's look at virus. Why? Because somebody created viruses. And so as the viruses, as the malware, et cetera, increase, the protection had to increase as well, right? And so you localized, identified, and then you prevented. Then they figured out a way to say, oops, you know what? They caught onto us here. Let's evolve it. AI is just going to make that 10 times faster, but it's going to be 10 times faster on the detection side as well. And so the problem is that delta between detection. If that delta is too long, then we have a problem. If that delta is shrunk, then yeah, we can get ahead of it. But you brought up a great point, right? When you start looking at how corporations are utilizing rendering technology, right? It was Sora when they came out and they had the 3 dogs and then they had the people walking in Japan and all of these different things. Hell, I mean, look, once again, it's basketball season. You have different things on Instagram where it's LeBron talking about his teammates or somebody saying something and you hear the voice is accurate, but you can sort of tell. But the problem is that they get better and better and better. And these are 5 to jumps where they're looking like, what's that? And they're like, oh, that's the AI. But now you can't tell what's real or fake. So you have to almost verify everything. You can't walk around saying, oh, I saw such and such say XYZ and believe it. No, you got to press pause for a second and look and see, where's that real? Where's my verifiable sources, right? We had companies lose billions because there were articles or images put out that said such and such happened.
Yeah.
And it wasn't true. And it took an hour, 2 hours. But in our environment where you have machine trading or AI trading, you have the ability to have fluctuations that happen instantaneously without verification. Once again, that gap, that delta between incident and detection and verification is enough to lose billions of dollars.
Well, it's happened. I don't know if you've seen that there was an incident in the news. I believe it happened last year where there was a company that lost tens of millions of dollars because the CFO's voice was faked. And so someone was able to call an employee. They actually also hacked the CFO's information. So they were able to call an employee and ask for certain financial information that then allowed these hackers to gain access to the company's actual financials. And they lost tens of millions of dollars.
They did it real time on 60 Minutes. Could this show you what it would look like? Come on, right? I feel bad for the parents and the grandparents that are getting these calls from the children and dire.
Yeah, they're in some country and need $20.
Well, I mean, what do you do, right? You're like, oh my God, is it real? Is it not real? What's the risk of? Do I send them or not?
I actually had this conversation with my daughter. We were laughing, but it's a thing. I said, we're going to have some sort of safe word. And I'm sort of word within you. For instance, you have a child in college, or they could be in many different places. You probably have to have some sort of word that says, tell me that this is really you, right? Because you need that verification. It's low tech, but something like that is not going to be hacked, right? If it's something that you don't have to write down anywhere, then it just lives within you, and that's what it is.
But Simone, here's a crazy thing, and I don't think we're there yet. But I mean, obviously, you got to go into your phone and change the settings that says don't let the voice inputs get recorded, etc. But we've been together where we've had a conversation, and an hour later, you look at your phone and you see something like, wait a minute, hold on, how did this pop up? We just talked about this thing, like, oh God, it's listening to me. What is low tech now? How do you, hey girl, listen, the next time you call me with a problem, I need you to tell me the safe word. Well, Dan, you text me the safe word and I forgot it. We'll look it up. And all of a sudden, AI is looking it up before hey, you have to get in a blockchain. It's going to have to be in your crypto wallet and stuff like that. So I'm like, look, I'm going to send it to you right now. Right, come on. You know, I'm afraid to give. I was about to say, sensitive information that you can't pass it to people if they don't have the same level of scrutiny that you have. Like right now, sending individuals who are not aware any financial information, you ain't send anybody no passcodes, anything like that. You can't send to individuals if right now, when you start looking at elderly parents, let's say we're at that age where now parents have memory issues, etc., right? And you want to send things to individuals, if they have the ability to be compromised and they have your information, that means you also have the ability to be compromised. And so we have to start thinking a little bigger, a little longer term than where we are today, because we're in an environment where the technology is so good that you will get taken advantage of in an instant. I was watching a movie, as crazy as the movie was, called The Beekeeper with Jason Statham. People are scamming individuals like never before. And that to me is the big component of where I get nervous and say, for all of technology's advancements, you have to have individuals, some smart, knowledgeable individuals who are on the side and make it a crusade of being ahead of the nefarious actions. Because once again, if that side is winning for a longer period of time, it has consequences to not just you as an individual, but to us as an ecosystem, right? I'm not even worried about will the AI become sentient and all this other. Well, we got God knows how long before you get there. I'm just worried about is an idiot putting machine guns on their drone and sending it up someplace with different logic to do certain things. You know, it's just stupid stuff that you look at and say, dead serious, right? I mean, you can train, something on anything. You can train a bot on anything for the most part. And if you just give it, ridiculous actions and send something out and say, if you see something, have this action and that action has negative consequences, we don't have an understanding right now of what that really could look like. Some idiot running around a mall doing A can quickly turn into an environment where somebody sends something out autonomously to do something and have an action. Are we there yet? I hope not. Are we close? I'm pretty sure we're closer than people think we are.
Well, the sad thing is that society, there's going to be bad actors, right? That it's been that way literally since the beginning of the human race. And I don't foresee that that's going to change. But as we were talking about before, it's the guardrails that society decides is necessary for whatever this new technology is. And I'm with you. I hope that we can catch up and make it happen really soon. So let's switch gears for a little bit. So I recently came across something that I was just like, oh, what is this? So now as AI evolves and becomes more and more part of our daily lives, it is now going into spaces that we probably haven't really looked at a lot recently. One of those spaces is search, like Google search, Bing search. And so when it comes to businesses, e-commerce, all of that, the way companies get found online is through search engine optimization. Okay. SEO for short. And you put your keywords in your website and the crawlers from the search engine companies will come through your website. So when Simone types in sparkly glasses, then that information will show up in the search for me to look at what the different options are. Okay. But AI is changing the game on that too. So now we're looking at something called GEO. Have you heard of that? GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. Okay. So now the question is SEO dead? What are businesses going to do who build their entire existence online based on the science of SEO? Now, what GEO is that the search engine, when you put in a search query, it goes through and it combs all of the known existing information and comes back with the results, including the generative information, to come back and gives you a better result, more video instead of text, all of that. So my question is, okay, now, what does that mean in terms of how we as companies manage our web presence, the content on our websites, and how we produce content? What are your thoughts?
You evolve or you become Blockbuster. As simple as that. Oh, listen, I was a Blockbuster stockholder. I know it well, right? I'm talking from pain. I'm not talking from, I didn't evolve. I own Netflix now, but I sure didn't evolve way back then when I could have saved thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. No, but seriously speaking, right now, even with my daughters, they're 20 and 17. When I'm talking to them, I don't talk to them in the guise of, oh, go to Google or any of the other search engines. I'm looking at them saying, hey, go to Gemini or go to, OpenAI, use 4 point whatever, and let that be why? Because you get more qualitative responses back. And so now, if I'm a company and I'm starting to look at my strategy, I have to take all of that into account, right? That says, how do I evolve my presence? How do I evolve the format of the information that I'm giving to my customers so that way I can be credible and visible in this new world? And that's why you hire different companies to go out there and say, let me see, here's your strategy today. Is it evolving to where you need to be at? Is your roadmap clean? Right. And if it's not, and you have this delta, then you have to make that delta up quick, because we've all seen that companies who embrace, different than countries who embrace technology, maybe not the first edition, they may put dip their toe in on the initial tech, but you better be in there on version 2, 3, 4, and 5, because if you're not, you get first, second mover adoption, and those adoption curves can be very steep, very exponential in nature, where you're thinking, oh, I have a couple of cycles here. Where's the camera? I have a couple of cycles here. It's linear. This is my curve, 5, 10%. No, you're getting adoption curve. Like, what did you say? 1 billion in how long?
It was like a month. It was ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Now, and think about it. Right now, I'm not trying to tangent too much, but right now, if they look at energy consumption, the energy consumption globally is risen. They thought it was through the crypto, which I'm pretty sure they had that as well. But now they're looking at it because of the use of AI and these AI engines. I mean, there's a reason why NVIDIA and other companies are rising the charts. What, 2-3 trillion now is the market cap? Cause of the adoption. And it is sticky this go around. Why? Because you have processors now that are able to run at speed that allow for the computation to go at speed. And then you feed that back in, and that loop continues and continues and continues. And now you're upgrading the networks that go along with it. And you have use cases that are actually implementable.
Mm-hmm.
And this is still the infancy of that. So yeah, today, if companies aren't making the adjustment while you're in an infant state, when you become an adolescent, when you become a teenager, 5, 10, 15 years from now, those who did not adapt will perish. I want to be nicer right with it, but think about it. And a video graphics card company that was making what? It wasn't in the tens of billions X years ago. Now it's a trillion, multi-trillion-dollar company, right? And so probably on its way to becoming the number one company in terms of market cap in the world in probably the next couple of years or so, just because the fact that they saw a trend, they spotted it, they got on it, and they made the adjustments, right? Now Qualcomm is doing something similar where they're getting their GPUs out. But when you start looking at these companies, these big tech companies that are leading the trend, they're also integrating in with blockchain technology that says, how do we get this on the chain and allow for what will be ultimately a truly digital ecosystem over time as you go from analog systems to digital globally? We haven't even begun to see what the true impact is. Tokenization of the, Larry Fink's goal of tokenizing everything that he can. Now you're talking trillions, not one, two, you're talking tens, if not hundreds of trillions of dollars that is going through a transformation. And as it goes through these transformative iterations, the companies that are at the forefront of them, they change dramatically, because now when you really look at the available opportunities that are out there from a market cap, a market sizing perspective, 100 trillion is a hell of a lot of money, right? Think about it. When you start about real estate and you start talking about how you change the real estate environment, utilizing the tools. About a month ago, I think I read an article where the closing agents are going to adjust because of the ability to utilize the AI technology, utilize blockchain, etc. Where now you have an option of who pays for what and to what degree people are doing things. You may get to a point where you're just filling out a little form and it's going in through legal, like doing all of the necessary paperwork and having a frictionless experience on how you buy and sell real estate or anything for that matter. And so I don't know the last time you booked a trip, but if you said, I'm going anywhere for 5, 10 days, but your first stop used to be a travel agent. Now your first stop is, hey, whatever, I saw this prompt that said 50 years old, plan a trip for me to Europe. I want to spend this amount of money. I want to see these types of things and a couple other things. And it came back with a full-fledged itinerary that you looked at and said, damn, that's not bad. That's better than, first of all, it was within 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't have to get on, and it gave you flights, gave you times, gave you prices.
The world has changed. The world as we know it has changed. I recently presented at my daughter's middle school career day. So I was presenting on marketing, digital marketing, and artificial intelligence. I also included information on the Metaverse and augmented reality. And I was surprised that some of the kids in there actually didn't know as much as I thought that they did, but there were one or two that knew a whole lot, right? And it's pretty interesting. But you know what I realized, Charles? What was confirmed to me? That these kids have no idea about data privacy and understanding the value of data and how it has become more and more a part of our culture and society, but definitely their culture and society, because these kids are on the edge of Gen Z and Gen Alpha, right? Because Gen Alpha is like 12 years old and younger right now. And so Gen Alpha really is growing up with AI. It's almost the only thing that they know, right?
They're AI native, yeah.
Right? They're the AI natives. And so I was talking to these kids and I was explaining to them, the link between data and digital marketing and AI and how that impacts their lives. And so I started off my talk by holding up my cell phone and my debit card. And I said, how many of you today in this room have a cell phone with you? And they, of course, they all raised their hand. It's like, 20 or 30 kids in the room. And I'm saying, between your cell phone and your debit card, I know everything there is to know about you as a digital marketer. And the teachers looked at me with a whiplash, like, what are you talking about? And so I started off the conversation there and explained to them some things that they should and shouldn't do, right, when it comes to social media and just general search. But in general, like, what is your life like today with AI? How is marketing impacting your life with AI? And how do you maneuver through that in a way that enriches your lives while minimizing the danger? So I went through all of that with these 13-year-old, 12-year-old kids. And I mean, at the end of it, the teachers were literally calling in other teachers to watch the talk and bringing in kids from other classes because there were things there that they hadn't yet thought about, that they didn't realize was already happening. I was showing them innovations in artificial intelligence and the metaverse in terms of fashion, design, chain, things like that, that they were just like, wait, is this one young lady literally asked me, is this coming soon? I said, oh no, baby, it's here.
When you gave your talk last year, I was looking at the audience like, where are y'all? What planet are y'all on? Everybody, I mean, come on, Simone, about 60% of the people, 70% of the people in that audience had no clue about what you were delivering. And I'm looking like, oh, we are in trouble.
And these are people who were in marketing or media in some way or shape or form, working for major global media companies. So that was last fall. And you're right. They were floored by some of the things that I was showing them when it comes to AI and the metaverse and augmented reality and so forth. I'm actually talking right now to a tourism organization in your state, in Georgia. And so one of the things that I'm talking to them about is bringing immersive, interactive technology to their tourism marketing strategy. And they're looking at me like, what do you?
First thing first, my next pair of glasses, because I'm 2 years in, is not going to be just a regular pair of glasses. I will pay extra $200. I can go a lot, to make it an AR glasses. Just so everybody know, they'll be like, Charles, really? Yes. My next set of glasses, they're fashion forward enough right now. I don't care about all of that stuff. They're fashion forward enough right now that they will sit up there and they will be an AR glasses. I'm talking about something like the Ray. I'm not trying to promote, but the Ray-Bans, whatever, with the cameras in the front, and they have search, voice search, picture, blah, 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 right? I'm looking at a video yesterday. Somebody was in another country visiting and they, hey, company, hey, prompt, what does that sign say? Oh, it says blah, blah, blah. It was in another language. Instant translation? What? I'm about, these are all software upgrades, right? And so all you're doing is pushing code to get a firmware upgrade. When you start looking at it and saying, how much is that? What is that? Tell me a little bit more about that. And it's giving you and you're not on your phone. Yes, I'm lazy. I don't want to go to my phone and have to look it up. And what I'm saying is that somebody says, but that's what your phone's for. No, the phone is for me talk, right? Now, if I'm walking up like, take this picture, click off what I'm looking at. Oh, hey, do this search or such, blah. Tell me about this.
Really? Can I tell you one of the use cases that I'm looking forward to with my AR glasses? And you're absolutely right that now the AR glasses are starting to look like regular glasses, right? So you don't really realize the difference. And that is most certainly where we're headed. One of the things that I was saying to the kids is that, and I was wearing my glasses, I said soon, because I did show them a video of AR glasses in life. And I think it was the same video I had shared with you guys at the conference when I was speaking about AI. They couldn't believe it. I said, yeah, the glasses are going to look just like the glasses you have on your face right now. And that'll be it. But one of the use cases that I am looking forward to, you're going to laugh, is to be able to look at someone and have my glasses tell me their name. That is still part of the human condition where we can't remember names.
But you know what? I can legitimately think about it. Between Salesforce and LinkedIn and Instagram, Facebook, right? Just on those four, you'll probably hit 80% of the populace, right? Because, everybody puts this stuff off. You may not get the real, there's going to be things about, first of all, LinkedIn, they got the picture there. Right? They tell you who they are, what they do, all that other stuff. Salesforce, you integrate that in. Hey, depending on what company you work for, last time you spoke to such other information, right? Facebook, now you're getting down to birthdays and, who the kid is, huh? And Instagram, what did they do yesterday? Or 5 minutes, right? And so if I'm product at any of those companies, I am trying to figure out how do I get into that data, right? And put a shared revenue model together that says, hey, my God. That could be the evolution of search. Search right now is about, hey, I want to learn things about where I want to go, information, but search in the future at that personal level that says, looking at you, I'm looking at you because I got a camera and it sees you. It can do facial recognition. And I tap a database and have it tell me the easy stuff. that is not outside of the facial recognition component of it, right? The legalities of it. That's not a hard.
No, because the data is already out there. It's a matter of aggregating the information. And your said shared revenue model, it's basically Facebook and all the other social media just giving you access to the product, which is you. You are the product.
Who's the partner for Ray-Ban's glasses? Meta, right? I wouldn't be shocked if that wasn't a roadmap item.
Well, then what? Okay, so yes. So let's string these things together, right? So Meta bought Oculus, right? And they changed their name to Meta. It's so funny because one of the kids in the classes, they recognized that. They were like, wait a second. I said, do you realize, because I was talking about the Metaverse and I explained what the Metaverse is. And I said, did you guys realize that Facebook changed their name to Meta, to the parent company? And some of them did and some of them didn't. Because these kids are not really on Facebook so much, but they know what it is. And then as we were talking about it some more, they were like, wait a second, is that why they bought Oculus? And it's like, yeah, we thought that's exactly why they bought Oculus. Congratulations. Business strategy. You just figured out their business model for the future. And so talking about all of this and connecting the dots as to, okay, you go from realizing that this metaverse idea is the future in some way, shape, or form. It hasn't fully developed in the way that they thought, but it's still developing, right? And then now you say, okay, well, there's this augmented reality piece of it. So we're moving a little bit from VR more to AR, now to extended reality. And you have all of these the data points, and you have the glasses that can connect these data points. So now you start to see where the breadcrumbs are being laid out for where we're going in the future. And absolutely, when I was in, one of the things I explained to the kids is that with these social media platforms, they're not free. Anytime you can't figure out what the product is, you are the product. Your data is the product. So when you're giving up all this information for free, these organizations are then part of their business model is to sell it back to advertisers like me so that we can provide the services and products that you are more likely to want and buy, right? So in this case, access to personal information, or when I should say personal, I mean more like a characteristic information about people will be that product. And that information is already out there. Who the relatives are, how old somebody is, what high school they went to, the car that they bought, where they went on vacation, because all of their family photos are up there. You know, all of these little pieces of data points are there.
Simone, I was stuck on Oculus. They were trying VR. For me, with my X versions of that I have, I was happy each version,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, I'm able to do things and those who aren't on, they just don't understand the joy that you have within those. And sometimes I have to put it down. I have to disconnect because you get so immersed in certain worlds, right? Play golf, or you're down in some dungeon somewhere, or you're going after you just get so immersed that it just becomes addictive. And so you got to put it down at times, right? Because no different than they're using AI to figure out what's the most addicting games out there? What are the characteristics of it? And how do I 2.0 it, right? AR is, people thought it would be AR, VR, but it's really VR, AR, right? Where VR probably led, they had the immersion. Now AR says, hey, how do I interact with the real world? Well, they have a pyramid exhibit at some place where you put the glasses on now and you walking through the exhibit and you swear you're in a freaking pyramid. I see people crawling on the floor to get underneath. I'm like, you can walk straight, but I get it.
You're immersed. You're fully immersed.
Right, you're immersed, right? You have enough different storefronts that are coming in that have games where you say, hey, here's a group, team building activities, etc. Those still VR, but even on the AR side, I just saw something earlier where somebody was looking at their arm and they were looking at it through not even goggles, a set of glasses, and they can see the bones.
I saw that video, and it was like surgery. It was like taking the layers of the skin apart. Yes.
Layers of skin, but it was AR, not VR at that time. There are leaps and advances that are going to be taking place in there as you start to say, putting it all back together again with AI, hey, help me design a fabrication process that, you know, NVIDIA had to redesign their fabrication. I don't know if it was their fab, but it was the way they designed their circuit board to get more semiconductors on. I'm pretty sure they use AI to help in that, to get them past the blockages of our computational skill set. And so now you're putting that AI to help design, to help in the software coding, et cetera, on the SDLC cycle. And so now you're just getting advances and speeding things up. And so what you're going to have in those, in this case, glasses, right, which is nothing more than another medium because we're looking at each other on a screen, We could be on the phone. We could be on a screen. Now we're getting personalized to a glasses instead of glasses, right? And so when you have it, you talked about, I can see your life through your phone and through your card. Now you have something that's sitting on the front of your face as you're walking.
Mm-hmm.
It can see what you're doing, period.
I mean, that's also, it's scary and it's also exhausting. I think considering how distracted we as a society already are, now when you're adding more data points to your daily life and literally in your field of vision, I think it's also going to lead to some more mental health challenges, more burnout.
But before you go there, right, it's unobtrusive. It's frictionless. Let's be clear. I'm not a proponent of walking with this thing turned on and da-da-da-da. I don't know what kind of passive viewing it does. I don't know any of that stuff yet. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying, though, is I'm just saying the optionality is there. They get the battery life in there. They get the processing in there. Literally, as you're walking, people can capture your waking visual moments without you doing anything, right? That's a lot of data collecting, etc., that you never had before. They never had before, because now, all right, I know where you are from GPS and all the other stuff here. I know what you're searching because you put it in, whether it's with your voice or you're typing it in, right? I can optimize, blah, 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 blah. But when now you're having something where it's visual in nature, that's an entirely different leap, right? And you said something earlier that made me say, not financial advice, but do the eyewear companies become targets to the companies that are doing the heavy lifting on the processing side, the Metas, et cetera, of the world? Because you said it, they went from an Oculus, right? Why? They figured it out. Hey, wearables. Okay, well, what wearable gives, right? Here it is. Put it on my eyes. Okay, now if I go to AR, that's no longer, I mean, Apple came out, the Vision Pro. Apple with the Vision Pro did two things. One, they made it. I won't say the device is cool, but they made it. Them people walk around the damn streets with the daggone things on. They try to make it the fastest.
Yeah, but right? it's clunky.
But the clunkiness is where it's supposed to be at version 1, right? They threw the kitchen sink in terms of options within it, right? What? Hey, I got spatial computing and da-da-da-da. They do everything at $3,000, $3,500. Why? Because now they want to be able to say, what sticks to the wall? What doesn't? What can we optimize? How do we get the form factor correct? Blah, 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 blah. The next version, the 26 version? Oh, good God. Whatever they come out with, we're not ready for it yet. And then you have the companies that are saying, hey, I'm not going to be able to duplicate all of that, but what can I get in a set of eyeglasses? Meta, Google, whoever else. Unless you decide that you want to open up an eyewear company, now you're going to have to then go in and say, I'm either going to partner or I'm going to buy these companies out. Why? Because they already own the market. I don't have to go back and reestablish that kind of brand, right? Cars now, what are you going to put on the windshields? It's all now vision. But I'm talking about what additional information will they be able to put there that won't be intrusive? I mean, they put it on passenger side instead of the driver side for certain things, right? That give the passenger.
Why are you worrying about all of that? Well, we won't even be driving our cars anyway. Remember, that's self-driving cars, right? We're not even going to be driving it. So it doesn't matter.
You know what? Fair point. I can't even argue that way. I went to the Jetsons at first and I'm like, okay, we're not at the Jetsons, but we're in between, even though they do have a ride out to somewhere that I think over in Europe where it's literally a ride through sort of like dune buggies, but now with air cars. I will call air cars. It's not as levered. Is
it like magless cars?
I got to go back and look at it, but I'm pretty sure that they use AI to equalize this and this to say, hey, how do we get, the advances that are going to happen over the next 2 to 5 years. And I'm as well, let's say 2 to 5, I really mean 1 to 3. We don't understand yet. We truly don't understand it yet. And, right now when you start looking at the digital divide and you start talking about, they had to start, the government, I don't want to say they pulled back, but the Connectivity Act is changing in nature, right? And so now you're going to have a divide. Some people are like, oh, who cares about all of that stuff? And I'm like, ooh, you're missing it. Right now, you're having conversations about having access for millions of people to have connectivity to the internet. Click on a keyboard or whatever device in your home. And I'm all the way on the other side of that line that says now you have internet connectivity on your eyewear, whether it's sunglasses or, and so internet connectivity is internet connectivity, right? If I can verbally say through speech to text, find something, search for something, AI, give me something, take a picture, I have access to things that's more than just my brain power on my face. A person on the other side of the line doesn't have access to the internet to do any of that manually on a phone or on a keyboard. So that divide between the haves and the have-nots is going to be in leap years in nature, right? Where unfortunately, I don't know a path that closes it. Some people who are in that line of business, hopefully they are informative enough or informed enough to be able to sort of mitigate that risk. But, two things on that. One, I know what side I'm going to be on. I'm going to have the tech. I don't know all of the use cases yet. There are use cases and unintended consequences, both positive and negative for all of it. You just said it earlier, where you looked and said mental health issues, etc. All of these things are fair game for that next phase. I mean, I don't know when this is going to actually air, but I'll be at IEEE. I'll be at IEEE award ceremony on Thursday and Friday of this week, whenever it airs, forgive me. And these are going to be the smartest people in the world, all clustered together. So,
and yet, one of the last meetings, I saw the father of the internet was there. I was like, oh, damn.
Last year on Event Surf, right? And they're the two co-creators of. And so I met Vit this time around. I'm going to meet Bob, Dr. Conan. And so sitting in that room, I'm going to ask those questions. Hey, guys, gals, ladies, where are we? And that's some accent. Our brain almost exploded. But I'm coming back home this time for, hey, what about this? What about that? What do you see with Web3? Yeah, in fact, that's a panel I'll be hosting is basically the evolution of networks, right? And so being able to find out where they see the future of the networks and how they're going to go bandwidth, expansion, all the other things, it's going to be key and very interesting. But I'll say that there's a lot of very smart and intelligent people in the world with varying disciplines. And, those who they didn't give up on AI, put it to the forefront. They kept at it. It's sticking now to corporate. It's sticking now to us for personal consumption. I mean, personal assistance, health and fitness, entertainment, how we do our finances, how we learn, how we talked about the travel portion of it, how we shop. It's everywhere. It's part of our fabric now. There's no going back. The genie is out of the bottle.
Right. So on that note, Charles, I want to wrap up today and say thank you for your insight, your futuristic view of what's happening, and the thought of how we challenge ourselves to think differently in this new space and think about what's coming ahead of us over these next few years. It impacts our daily lives at home, our daily lives at work, like you said, how we learn, how we interact with each other. And the future is most certainly unwritten. So thank you so much for joining us today on the 10X Blueprint podcast. People, if you want to connect with Charles and see what he's up to, you can follow him at Charles Neal on LinkedIn. And again, you can, if you're in the Atlanta area, he's also president at the National Association of Multi-Ethnicity in Communications at NAMIC, Atlanta chapter president. So check them out. They have some amazing events always happening, always on the move. And you should definitely be a part of that if you can. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Until next week. Thank you for joining us on the 10X Blueprint podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring and want to stay ahead of the curve on the latest trends in AI, AR, and Web3, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube at Brandiverse Marketing. Together, we'll unlock the blueprint for 10X growth. Don't miss out on our next episode, and until then, onward and upward.